Hi, welcome to Paul's Tackle Reviews. My name's Paul Cresswell. The purpose of this channel is to give you reviews of tackle that's been tried and tested by an unbiased, unsponsored angler, and that's me. And today we have something called the Rigmate Pro. And you might have seen these. I'll put the website on the bottom so you can have a look. But it's quite simply a nice device to help you prepare your rigs and be more accurate in what you're doing. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is this is not essential for doing rigs, and I've spent many a year and having bits of line and doing it. What this does do is makes it more comfortable and easier to do. Over the last few months, I've been going back to using shot for my carp rigs. So putting stops on the line, which is what I've used and I still use for my silverfish rigs, is really quite straightforward. Putting shot on is more difficult. The other thing with shot is it doesn't move as easily, so it is better to try and put it roughly in the position that you want it and then fix it into position without moving it about. So this has been a huge benefit in me doing my rigs with shot, but I do it for all rigs now. Let's look at what it is, and it's a well-made piece of plastic. It's flat, it's got some nice little rubber underneath to put on your desk. There it sits. It's probably around 80 centimeters wide, and I'll put some usual, I'll do it on that side. I'll put some photos in detail. So at this end is where you put your spool of line that's going to be your main line for your pull rig. And I am going to do, I've recorded another video I'm going to put up of me making a rig up, so you'll get a good idea. There's then two little posts here with removable little inserts, and you basically run your line at that one and then you attach your loop at that end. You've got your flow on there, and then you put the shot on, and you'll see that in the video that I've got. There's 6 little tubs on here, and these are pots for you to put whatever you want in. So I've got 3 there with my 8, 9 and 10 shot. That's the only size shot I use. Anything else is too small for me. And then I've got my stops, but I don't tend to put them in the pots. And I think when this was originally made, there was something called the Rigmate and then the Pro. And the Rigmate didn't have them, and I couldn't live without them. The main bit is holding your rig in position securely while you put the shot on. They've got some details here of a pole conversion chart, which is a good approximation for what things are. And then on this side, again, there'll be some photos. They've got the shot conversion chart. I'm not as keen on that because in my experience, different brands weigh different things. And I'll put up there a little table of my findings, and I've done some weighing. I've got some very accurate scales. I've done some averages to work out what the shot are and what the stops are, and you'll see that the Balabini shot is heavier than the equivalent on the stop. So if you just said, oh, number 8, 0.06 grams, it's nearer 0.08 gram for the Balabini, so that really doesn't matter. As you'll be able to see in the photos, it's marked at 10 centimetre intervals with every centimetre marked. You can buy separately from the company an insert that sits over there, so you can mark up your own shotting patterns and then put the template on and just make up your rigs. I didn't see the need for that. I can, if I want, get a black marker and put it on here, but I'm quite happy working with the scale that it's got. I know 6 inches, 15 centimetres, 12 inches, 30, and for a lot of the bulk and tube droppers, that's the kind of way I work. I'm going to put the video up now of me doing a rig. There'll be some editing, you don't need to see me do everything, and then I'll come back and wrap up. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm making up a Drennan SF3 0.4 gram float that I've used a couple of times. I've shortened the rig, I need to redo it. I do all of my rigs on either 016 or 020 AccuPower. I use Power Micron and the new Micron X from Matrix for my hook lengths, but my main lines are either 16. So I'm going to put it on the spike at the end and then tighten it down. So there we have it. I've got some line, and the good thing is if you want a bit more line, just let it off a little bit, and there we go. So I've got the float, and okay, we're back again. As you can see, I'd forgotten to put my glasses on. I need glasses for doing up close work, and when I'm fishing I've got bifocals. I'm not as young as I used to be. So thread the float. This is a fiddly little job. I've only got 2 rubbers on this float, and a lot of my floats, certainly the wire stems and the titanium, I would put 3 on. But for a kind of a float like this, which is for silverfish, I would only really put a couple of float rubbers on. I think in all the years I've been fishing, I can't ever remember breaking a float rubber, and I've never had a problem just putting 2 on for lightweight carbon stem silverfish floats. So there we have it, float on. So the first thing I need to do is tie a loop in the end of this line. Now, I've got various loop ties. I've got the Guru one there, but I've got this Preston one that's a little bit bigger, and I tend to tie bigger loops at this end because I might need to put a bait band through, so it's nice to have a slightly bigger loop. It's not a huge loop, but it's bigger than the ones using the Guru, so pull that down. Just wet the loop before you pull tight. Trim that fairly close. So, I don't know if you can see, that isn't a huge loop, but it's not a tiny little loop that I tie with hook length. So I'm putting that loop on there. I'm tightening up at that end, then fasten that down tight. I can then comfortably slide the float on. So we're ready now to put whatever your choice is, whether that is short or stots. As I said earlier, I've started using short again for carp rigs because I don't find that I move them very much. I can move them if I need to, but when you use stots, they're forever moving. Whereas silverfish rigs, I do like stots, plus I feel they're easier to use in small sizes. I only use shot in 8, 9 and 10. I'm happy using 11 and 12 for the stots. So this is a 0.4 gram. I know from experience, and I've written this down, that my basic shotting pattern is 6 number 9 stots and 3 number 11s. And I'll do it as a bulk and 2 droppers, but with them being stots, I can move them around. I can have a nice slow fall on the rig, or I can use that tapered one where you reduce the size of the shots, but I can do that on the bank because these are stots. So let's put them on. And I have this hobby tool. I think it was 2 or 3 quid. You can get them on eBay. I got them from a hobby shop. And the beauty with stots, unlike using short, is if you tip a load out on the table, some of them will be face down, and you just pick them up, put the line in, put it on. That's my first stot. No damage to the line. So I'm going to put the stots on. I'll cut the next part of the video because you don't need to see it. So there we have it. I've got 11, 11 and 11 there, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 number 9s, and I might need a little trimmer number 11 depending on conditions and the depth I'm fishing at. So that's my rig done. I've done, so the first shot on the end of the loop is at about 1 centimetre. I've got that one on 16 centimetres, so it's 6 inch further away, and then I've got the bulk starting there. Like I say, the beauty with stots, you can rearrange that as you see fit for the baits you're fishing, the fish you're targeting, and the conditions on the day. So I've got the rig on there. I will then take the rig and peel a bit of line off, and I'll push the float up a bit because I'm probably going to be using it kind of 4 foot depth. I'll then put a number 8 stot above the float just to save me time on the bank, fiddling about, especially when it's freezing cold. That's my back shot if required, and then I'll put it onto the winder. So I use the Preston double winders, as you can see, and they're about 15 centimetres there. So if you do one full loop, that is around a foot. So I tend to make, what we're going to do is 0.4. I could be using it in really good conditions, looking for a slow falling, maybe 6 feet. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's set around 4 foot, 5, 6, a bit for good luck, cut that off somewhere around there. I'll then tie the loop to attach to the dacron, so I do a double loop, this doesn't have to be the best knot you ever tie, because it's never going to be bang on for length anyway. You're always going to be chopping off excess line. I do use the technique where you have 2 sets of loops so you can take it off the dacron really easy. So there we have it. First big loop, second loop, and then I can attach that to the dacron. Just trim that down, doesn't need to be precise because I can't see. It would be amazing if that was the perfect length for the rig you're doing, because it's 6.5 foot, and I am quite particular about the length of line between the pole and the tip, and I tend to work on a normal kind of length being 14 inches in decent conditions, and I might shorten it if required, or lengthen it in difficult conditions. There we have it, rig done. You can leave the spool on there if you're doing lots of them, no problem. When I'm putting it away, I tend to remove the 2 pins, and I'll put some photos there that go in both of those slots, because I stand it up in the utility room and somebody's going to knock it off and then you'll lose them. So I tend to put them into my kind of box of tricks of everything with my hooks, my tie, and all my different lines. So I hope you found that interesting. It gave a good demo of how to do it on here. Is this essential? No. Does it help you produce better rigs? Yes. Does it help you produce more consistent rigs? Yes. And I always carry duplicates of every float I've got, and I've now got a situation where I'm fairly confident that if I trash a rig, I can get the other one off the winder and it will be the same setup as the one that I've got, and that helps you catch fish and not waste time setting up rigs on the bank. One thing I do is, if I get a perfect rig on the bank, when I get home, I write down in notes on my iPad exactly the shotting, so that then I can make rigs up so that they're fairly accurate, and I just need an odd little trimmer as well. So the big thing, how much are they? They're around 80 quid, and there's a bit of delivery, and I did think that was a bit much for a long period of time, and then I finally said to myself, if you're going to use shot again, you're going to need something to help you do that, because it's just too difficult otherwise. And I'm really pleased with this. I actually think it's a really good investment. It's not cheap, and I think there's videos I've seen where you can get a piece of wood and put nails in, and that might be a good economy solution, but this is the way to do it, I think. And you can see videos of people like Andy Bennett and Joe Carras, and there's lots of anglers who've got these, who use these to make up their rigs as well. That's it for today. There's 50 plus videos on my channel. I've got a couple of videos I want to do, but it's so cold outside and I need to film them outside. So hopefully when it does warm up, I'll start increasing my output again. Until next time, tight lines.